Once a jolly swagman camped by a billabong under the shade of a coolabah tree. He sang as he watched and waited till his billy boiled. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me.
Yeah, g'day guys, it's Shane with the Backyard Bushman channel, and we have a bit of rain today, which is a huge surprise because we're in the Pacific Northwest. And being that I can't get outside and do much of anything, I figured I would do a video on beef jerky. I mentioned this before in, I think it was my Bug Out Bag series, and how I make great jerky, and I wanted to eat what I had left. Well, this time I got off my butt and I made some more. Now, I'm not going to explain the science behind beef jerky, I'm not going to tell you how it works and so on and so forth, but take my word for it, using a food dehydrator is not good enough, okay? That's not how you want to make your jerky, and I'll show you how we're going to do that later. But first of all, we're going to get to what we actually need in terms of, what we're going to eat. So, you're going to need some meat. Now, straight away, I have to say that I've tried with a couple of different things as far as meat's concerned, and I got my jerky information off of YouTube on another channel, but I wanted to basically condense that info and do it for anybody watching this channel. And my first attempt was flank steak, and the jerky was awesome. Fantastic. The second time I made jerky, I used carne asada purely because it was cheaper, and I wanted to use a lower quality cut of meat to see how that influenced the jerky. I can tell you that it was a little different, but it was still very, very good. Well, this time, I decided I'm going to use bottom round. And apparently bottom round doesn't have as much flavor as flank steak, but it was on sale today. And I got to tell you, the grain on the bottom round is very easy, which is important. It's easy to follow, and this is already sliced. So all I'm going to have to do when I pull this out is I'm going to pull out an individual slice, and I'm going to slice it to make it thinner with the grain. Super easy to do. So I have a ton of bottom round. In fact, right now I think I have about 6 pounds. Now the recipe I'm going to tell you about is good enough for 3 pounds, okay? And you might want to start taking notes. So we're going to put that there. Alright, other things that you are going to need. You're going to need a measuring cup. You are going to need some kind of container, and I really hope this one's big enough, or a Ziploc bag to put the meat and the marinade in, okay, that you're going to be making yourself. You, of course, are going to need a knife to cut your meat. That would be the wrong one. A knife to cut your meat, there we go. And after that, we're going to need a couple other things. Number one, which would be soy sauce. Now, for approximately 3 pounds of meat, you're going to need 2/3 of a cup of soy sauce. Then we have Worcestershire sauce, or Worcestershire sauce, if you want to call it that. And we need 2/3 of a cup of this. You might want more than one bottle, depending on how much you're making. You can get pretty cheap, by the way. And you want some liquid smoke. And you're going to need, let me see, what have I written down here? We want 1 teaspoon of liquid smoke. You also want 1 tablespoon of honey, which I have forgotten to get out. And we'll get back to that later because I have no clue where the honey is. At any rate, what you want to do basically is you throw in your soy sauce, you throw in your Worcestershire sauce, you add your liquid smoke, you add your honey, you mix it all up together, and you want to put in your own seasoning. I'm not going to tell you how to do the seasoning because it's much more unique if you make up your own seasoning your way. Don't add salt unless you really like salt because this marinade is already going to be salty. Okay, a couple of things that are very common to put in there would be garlic, of course, onion, as in onion flakes, or maybe onion salt. And there's some people put in red pepper and so on and so forth. You can use your Mrs. Dash, you can use your Lowry's, whatever you want to use. Figure out your seasoning, you throw that in the marinade, and once you got that done, you're going to cut up the meat. So I'm going to take a break. I'm going to put my marinade together, find that dang honey, and cut up some meat, and I'll show you what happens next. Be right back. We have honey. We went to the store, we raided, we got some honey, and there it is. So, at any rate, we used the honey, we put together our marinade, and like I said, 2/3 a cup of soy sauce, 2/3 a cup of Worcestershire, 1 tablespoon of honey, 1 teaspoon of liquid smoke, and some herbs and spices that are of my own creation. Thank you very much. Now, what we're going to do with this little concoction that we have here is we're going to pour that in our big jug. Well, give it a good stir. Hopefully I'll get all the remains out the bottom instead of leaving some of the flavor behind. There we go. And we put it in our big plastic container. What we do with that is we put it in the sink, and the missus will bitch at us later. So, you have your meat. And anyway, what I found with the bottom round is that the meat was already cut with the grain, which was pretty nifty. So we had a big piece like this. And I don't know if you can see the grain on that. There we go. And we just cut straight down the grain. Now I don't want to have to tell you guys about knife safety. Your knife should be sharp, your fingers should be well out of the way, and just slice straight down the meat like this. Ta-da! Okay, like little fingers that you make out of your toast to put in your cookie eggs in the morning. If anybody doesn't know what that means, it's probably a good thing. Okay, and basically grab all the meat that you've cut up and you want to drop it into your container. Okay, once you're done, you've got the meat in the container there. We're going to stir it around, we're going to splosh it up and down, make sure it's all covered, throw the lid on, and we're going to throw it in the fridge, but we'll get to that in a second. Mountain of meat, pile of fat. More on this in a second. And we're back again, and as I said, guys, make sure you take your knife safety very seriously. So you saw the mountain of meat and the pile of fat. Now the deal with that is basically, fat is very important to your jerky because it is the tie that binds, so to speak. But if you have any excessive fat stuff that's on the end of your meat and whatnot, you will want to trim that off. And I've learned through experience the reason why you want to do that is that fat will not dehydrate. Okay, not that we're dehydrating, we'll get to that later. But it basically won't lose a lot of moisture, and I just don't like my jerky to have any kind of wet substance going on. So if you've got any minor fat there, trim it off. But as you can see by the two piles there was very little fat and a lot of meat. So I got to say that this bottom round has worked out pretty well. So back to what we were doing before, of course. We go back to our bucket of marinade, and we grab all of our meat and we plop it on in there, which is going to take me just 1 second here. It's cold, it's squishy, and it's messy, but you know, it's going to be awfully tasty later on. Well, the battery died, so we went and plugged this the camera in, and we're good to go. So where was I? Okay, we were squishing meat in our bucket, and as you can see, or maybe you can't see, okay, all that meat's been stirred around in there, and we've got the marinade all upside down. Now, as I was saying, you can marinate in a Ziploc bag, and some people that may or may not have a TV show that I learned this from will tell you that that's very good because it basically forces the meat to be covered in the marinade. Whatever. I just use the container because it's easier. I don't have to worry about it dribbling or leaking and whatever else. But I will tell you, I frequently take this out, stir it up, or, you know, make sure that the marinade is getting on everything. I can turn this upside down with the lid on and risk life and death, because if I spill that on the floor, the wife will indeed kill me. But what we're going to do with this now is we grab our bucket of meat and marinade, and we're going to put it in the fridge. Okay? You don't need to see the inside of the fridge. There's some olives in there that look like blueberries, and if you don't believe me, ask the wife. I was not here for a week. It's not my fault.
I took them out.
So at any rate, but we're going to put this in the fridge for at least 3 hours and no more than 6 hours. Okay? If you put it in there for more than 6 hours, apparently your meat will be awfully salty. So once again, that is not the name of the game. I'm going to pop it in the fridge right now. And about, I don't know, I'll probably give it 4.5 hours. I'm going to pull it out and I will show you the contraption that we're going to create to indeed be on our path to beef jerky goodness. Alright guys, well the timer has all of 14 minutes left, and I'm pretty much done waiting for it because it's been over 4 hours, and I think that's enough time to get my jerky marinated. So here we have it in the container. I think it was about 4 or 5 times that I actually picked it up, shook it around, made sure that the meat was stirred around, and the marinade got into everything. And I can look in there now and I can actually see that the meat is pretty much changed color, so it's taking the marinade pretty good now. Oh yeah, she looks good. The only thing left to do basically is to strain the marinade out. Now there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can either just run it off, and you can use paper towels and pat them down if you like, or a clean towel. Me personally, I use a colander, just like you would use for your spaghetti. I'm going to pour it in there and basically just squish it down. I'm not trying to remove flavor, I just want to remove all that excess moisture, because the next step of this procedure requires it not to be dripping on your floor. And we'll get to that in 1 second. Okay guys, so what we got here is we're in my kitchen. I have a couple of stools, as you can probably see there, and on those stools is positioned a box fan. Okay. Now the only reason the fan is on there is because I need to get off the floor, because it's going to be sitting on that angle whilst I use it. Okay. You can sit them on phone books. You can sit them on anything really to get them off the floor. I like them on the stools here because they're in a position so that I can't really, bump into them too easily, and the cat can't climb up there. Now the next thing is you've got your box fan. It's off the floor. You want something basically to put your meat on. Okay, and I have these dehydrator racks. Okay, these are round racks that are built to go on an electronic dehydrator. But again, we're not going to be using that dehydrator, and I know a lot of people out there like to make their jerky and think that they can use a proper dehydrator. The reason we don't want to do that basically is heat is kind of cooking the meat, even in a dehydrator. And if you're going to cook the meat, you're going to make it tough and you're going to remove some of the flavor. Now what we're doing is we're going to be using this fan, okay, just like that. And by doing that, we're going to keep the meat cool, but we're going to remove the moisture from it, okay? When we've removed the moisture from the meat, well, then we end up with jerky. We don't have to worry about germs and all that nasty stuff. Alright, so here we go. We're just going to get these racks together, like so. And I just have to stack my meat on each and every one. I'm going to do that in a second. I'll come back and show you guys where I'm at. Meat. Well, there we go, guys. As you can see on the dehydrator there, I've sorted out the meat so that it's laid out nice and neat there. I hope you can see that. I can't see the camera. There we go, lovely. And at any rate, you want to not have it touching too much. You don't want to have it doubled up because that will lead to more retention of moisture basically, and you want to have it nice and spread out. I did notice that some of my cuts on here are a little thick, and that as well is going to slow down the basically the jerking process. Now, if you don't have a dehydrator stack like this, what you can actually do is you can go to your hardware store or somewhere like that and you can get standard furnace filters. Okay, you don't want to get the nasty fiberglass ones, you want to get the alternative ones basically, and they fit on a box fan nice and easy. You can use a couple of elastic straps to keep them on there basically. So what we're going to do now is we are going to grab this lid here. We're going to place it on the top, and I'm actually going to start off with the vents open so I can dry it out more. And then, once we've got that done, we're just going to have to turn it on. Like so. Okay, now that's a pretty heavy stack and it's not going to go anywhere, so that fan is going to do all the work that I need it to do. Now, in all honesty, this could take anywhere between 24 and 48 hours. I will be checking periodically basically to turn those stacks around and make sure that, if it's drying more in one region, how to, switch it up a bit basically. It might dry more in the center, it might dry more on the outside basically, so it'll take a little attention for me to make sure that she's alright. I'll actually be connecting this fan to a little circuit breaker board I have, so if there's any electrical issues while I'm not home, I can just let it running. Okay, that's where we're at, guys, and once that's dried out, like I said, 24 to 48 hours, she's ready to eat, but let me grab one that I prepared earlier. So there you have it, guys. That's how you make jerky, and as I said, I'll show you one that I've done earlier. There it is there, in this little Ziploc bag made by, well, Ziploc, it's a vacuum seal bag. You might have seen me cover these products way back when I first started doing videos. This is one of those bags that's still sealed up. Now, I can tell you this, you don't necessarily want to vacuum seal your beef jerky. It's not the best way to keep it lasting a long time. Apparently, the best way to keep jerky lasting a long time is to have it in just a standard plastic or glass container with a screw-on lid. Make sure it's airtight, but you don't need the vacuum seal because that'll actually hold any residual moisture against the jerky. But as you can see, this one here I made months and months and months ago, and the jerky's pretty dry. It's still really very tasty. So, there's nothing else I can tell you about making jerky, guys. Jerky itself, you can research and find out how good it is for you and how it makes really good trail food. Make some yourself and throw it in your pack, and let me know if you come up with any fancy recipes. I can try them out myself. But as always, guys, this has been Shane with the Backyard Bushman channel, and I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time. Good eats.
You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me.